Welcome to On the Edge with April Mahoney Brains. Here, this is the spot where the conversations are pointed, the guests are sharp, and the responses are never dull. Did you bring your thinking caps? Because it's time to put them on. Because the conversation starts now. But outside of that, you are a very layered, textured woman. I love your segment that you did on being happy and grateful.
Yes.
You know, people they don't, number one, I think, unfortunately, understand what gratitude is.
Yeah.
Or they've lost the sense of understanding of what gratitude is. Pisses me off. I don't like ungrateful people. I don't expect for you to grovel, but I want to be acknowledged for extending myself to you.
Okay.
And I don't think there's nothing wrong with that.
Absolutely. And what I've learned, and this is a great thing about the fact that I've been a therapist for like over about 20 years now, I'm gonna say, yeah. But one of the things that I appreciate the most is that I encounter so many people. It's so many different backgrounds, so many different values. And so what understand now is that people respond in accordance to their level of consciousness, their level of beliefs. And so gratitude, you can use the word gratitude, you can use the word God, you can use one single word and it will mean something different for everybody. It's not a general broad. Everybody will have some, they won't even say the same three words. If you said describe God to me in three words of in a group of 10 people, everybody, no two people have the same answer.
Well, it's a matter of perception, and we're going to get the right perception here on the Edge Brains. I forgot to tell you, I got Lisa Thomas L. Okay? She is a podcaster. She is a therapist. She's a love, and she's a real cool sister. Now, we're going to let y'all in the room. We're going to have a real deal conversation, so get ready for it, because we ain't got time for shucking and jiving. Okay? Them days is over.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
You know, so again, like I said, gratitude, again, appreciation, respect, love, all of that. It is based upon interpretation and also how you receive that, because everybody receives love differently. Some people it's sex, some people it's money, some people it's acknowledgement. It's all different for all of us. But what we need to do is we need to do the deep dive, and when you figure out what it is, share it, because caring is, sharing is caring, or caring is sharing, either
Sharing is sharing, right?
Folks don't share, they selfish. And so you're in this therapy space. What took you there? Tell us a little bit about your background.
Well, originally what took me there, I think since I was a teenager, I've always loved to help people. I was just in that space of like, if you came to me for advice or you came for me just to hear you out, I loved it. And so that was just a net that I already had. But then it was because of an addiction to substances that took me on a journey of rediscovering who I am. Like I grew up, I didn't start using drugs until I was in my early 20s. Um, Totally denounced drugs because I had, family members who did, and I was like, "Oh, I'll never be like that. I'll never be like that." And so,
do you mind me asking, what was your poison of choice?
Cocaine.
Wow. Rock or powder?
Both.
Did you intravenously use it?
No.
The only reason why I'm sorry that I'm asking all that is because it's a different trip from what people tell me, depending upon how you use it. If you snort it, it's one way. If you smoke it, it's another way. If you shoot it, it's something else. But however it is, how did you start? Was it like
something? No, I started with a friend, with somebody that was
wasn't a friend.
Yeah, it was
a friend of me.
Actually, when I think back now, I mean, now you're bringing me back. And it was a gentleman that was trying to hook up with me, and when we got together, he was sniffing and I was sniffing, and like, oh, it'll relax you and stuff. I was so paranoid. It was so thought I was gonna die, I remember. I thought I was gonna die. Like, and then I remember right around that time, a basketball player had died on the court, because of
Mm.
his usage. So I was like, "Oh my God, I'm gonna die in here." And but that didn't stop me from taking the journey of doing it. And then like wanting to be part of, there was people that I was affiliated with that I didn't want to feel left out. So because they were doing it, I was doing it. But the deeper thing is I hear people always say, well, it's like a them that versus this and that one versus this. And with marijuana, all that stuff, it's like that versus this. My thing is at the core. See, what takes you there? Are you bored? Are you lonely? Are you sad? Are you grieving? Like at the core of it, it can take you to whatever substance, but at the core, why is that your choice?
Right. And, again, you're looking at other people's experience until you see them, tumbling down. And then you sometimes is tumbled down with them. But
Right.
you mentioned something.
Yes.
Let's talk about marijuana. Girl. Okay. I tell people all the time, it's a gateway drug, but weed is not the weed in 2023 that it was in 1963. They got it on, what do they call it now? Gasoline weed. They got it on steroids. They're trying to grow it faster. They're trying to debug it. They're trying to cure everything from a toothache to insomnia to nausea. And it's not the same thing. It's the cigarette of the 2023.
That's one thing that we definitely have in common. I always say, I've always said it from the onset of them talking about legalizing marijuana. First of all, if you like it, I love it. I like whatever floats your boat. I'm not, if you come to me for an assessment, then that's a different conversation. And people are like, when they are into something, people will advocate to all heavens their justification.
Justify it, girl, to the nine.
And so I'm like, okay, if you like it, I love it, and I'm not even going to argue with you about it. But I do say the same thing you said. We're not talking about marijuana from 19 like back in the 1950s or nothing like that. We're talking about like there's a high demand. So in a high listen, our food is contaminated. What makes people think they're not when I first heard about marijuana like as a weight loss remedy, I said, "Oh no, that's something wrong."
Right. Well, I had a doctor here in California. She was on my show, and she talked about marijuana. Do you know that there has been 12,000 people recorded in the emergency room for smoking marijuana?
Yes.
It used to be it would make you happy, horny, and hungry.
No, and I'm telling you, and I even heard studies that they talked about from Colorado of people ODing. When people say ODing or for marijuana, that's not it. That's not it. Like it's too many other properties in it that does not agree with one's body.
No.
Seizures have been increased. So when you tell people that, that's why educate knowledge. We have an abundance of knowledge. That doesn't mean that wisdom has increased
Oh
with the
no,
knowledge.
it's only good when you apply it. And all of these kids thinking that it's okay, and these gummies. Okay, so let me tell you my horror story. I'm sitting in my car and I see the reggae band. Reggae band's going into this building, but I knew it was a loft inside the building. And I was like, hey, I'm about to follow them. Girl, I followed them, and it was a 420 up in there. They was getting high on high on high. And they said, babe, come over here, baby. You want to try the wax? You want to try the wax? Said, wax? What the hell is some wax? So, what did it look like? I want to know. So it's this plastic like honeycomb, and it looked like earwax. And they would peel it off with tweezers. And they had the bong, and then they'd hold the wax over the weed, melt it on top of the weed, and then hit the weed. And girl, their whole body imploded. And the girl,
Mm,
I guess she was taking a picture for that, what's that, a High Times magazine?
mm,
And she was just down there and no brains. I wasn't getting high. I was observing. Okay.
mhm.
In case you want to know my business. Wait,
Let's
but
clear it up.
I said, well, let me go over here and get some nachos. Girl,
Mhm.
they had the THC in the nachos.
Yes. Yes.
They had the gummies. The
Yes.
gummies, you have to understand that this is manufactured in somebody's whatever. This is not
Yeah.
pharmaceutical grade. You don't know. Marijuana used to be 3% THC, which is the hallucinogenic. Now you're going in as 25 up to 38%. Why you want to trip that hard off of some weed? I
Yeah.
don't get it. And the smell of it is absolutely deplorable here in California. You'll be opening up the door next to somebody. And I just, and I hate to say it, but I hope you say if you like it, I love it. Well, I ain't going along to get along. Okay. If they smell that, the police should immediately have them under some sort of surveillance or something because they are a hazard.
Mm.
You don't have to got your kids all in the car. Did you hear about that 6-year-old that went and shot his teacher the other day?
I heard about it. I don't know the details of it. But
Yeah,
yeah, I heard.
I don't even need to know the details.
Yeah.
That's some ridiculousness.
Yeah. And I work with kids too. And my biggest thing is like I want more information because we so often parents and people look at behaviors and they point fingers at the child, but a lot of times the child is crying out for greater help. You know, I work with kids that have like is on a spectrum, and I was just telling someone today. I said, they're so people could abuse them easily, especially ones that's not nonverbal and stuff, because people don't believe them. So my question was like, what led him to that? Like what happened between him and this particular teacher? Not saying it's somebody's fault or anything, but I'm like that one who always asks more questions. I'm like, okay.
Well, you know what? There's not even a question that I could ask with a reasonable answer to a 6-year-old. They
No,
don't have enough life experience. They still peeing in the bed.
yeah.
Okay. All right. They can't even make a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
And my thing would be like, well, where he has access to it how?
Access.
Yeah, where's
That's
the
what
access?
it's all about access. So apparently, I don't know, allegedly, let me be sure to say that they called the mother and told the mother that your child has, contraband in his backpack, and she attempts to justify it, saying that it's, from a cap gun or whatever it is. When I was talking to my daughter today, I said, if somebody calls and reports something to me, I'm going to investigate it. So there's a lot of missing moving parts to
Absolutely.
this whole story. But
Yeah.
I just thought that it was absolutely horrific that a 6-year-old, okay, so you're going to put them through a criminal trial, you're going to put them through psychiatric evaluation, and then lock them up at 6 years old. And
Mhm.
again, they still peeing in the bed.
Absolutely.
I
Absolutely.
don't I don't understand that. Okay, so now you work with with people. Tell me some
Mhm.
success stories. Tell me how you've created some wins.
Oh my gosh. So I'm so excited. This is very fresh. Very fresh. Right? So this happened today. I work with a young man who's on the spectrum, him and his brother. And not very verbal, very, have a lot of limitations. And I think like that. I'm one who thinks like if I could not speak, because I felt like as a child that I didn't have a voice, grew up in an era like kids were to be seen, not heard.
Right?
So just imagine being a kid who can't express themselves and no one else understands. So that has to be frustrating. So, in working with this young man, trying to find different ways on how to really build rapport. I've been working with this young man for maybe 2 years now. Currently learning ASL, so which is sign language.
Mhm.
So I said, I wonder if he could relate to sign language. So I just did some simple things like thank you and read and just little things to see if he would respond. Yes, he did. As a
Wonderful.
matter of fact, as I was leaving the house, and I got so excited, I was telling the mom, I was like, look, come here, let me show you something. And I love you and stuff. And he responded and he was mimicking it. And I was like, wow, because I noticed that he was doing his fingers in such ways that I said, that looks like sign language. And I just started trying just a little bit that I knew. And his mom was like, wow. And as I was leaving the house, I was like, okay, I'll see you next week. He said, thank you. I said, oh,
See?
oh my goodness.
See?
And he was like, see, his mom was like, say bye. He was like, bye. Say, see you next week. Never said that to me before. I was like, wow. You have to feel like somebody sees me.
Right. But people, this is my opinion, only
Right.
my opinion, is that children with autism and ADHD, they're trapped inside this bubble. They're trapped inside themselves. And it's a different way of learning and a different way of communicating.
Absolutely.
Because they don't talk doesn't mean they can't hear, they can't see, they can't taste, they can't feel, they don't hurt, they don't cry. They just don't verbally communicate it that way.
Absolutely.
They excel in mathematics, in music, in arts, in science. They're creative as far as painters. They're locked inside of whatever this is. But I noticed that it really kind of is impacting males more than females. And it's been within like the last 10, 15 years that it just really seems that it is you're having children diagnosed with ADHD or autism at a rapid pace.
Rapid rate, yes. Yes.
And a lot of African American children as well, they're not getting the assessments that they need in the schools. They're not getting the support. Their parents don't know how to cope with
Right.
this.
Right. This is my perspective on it. Like, I believe that God is so merciful, and he knows us. He knows us, right? And so what I've learned from working with children on the spectrum or children period, is that we all have our unique blueprints, and it's learning their style of communicating. It's not no one size fit all. Like, I can beat you into submission, I can scream at you into submission. That don't work. It don't work. So it gives us an opportunity to change our approach, to change the way, and it's not just kids on the spectrum, but children, period. People, period. They're little souls, little human beings growing up. And how do I communicate with this special, unique child or spirit, soul, whatever you want to, however you want to, like, that's just my thinking. That's how I go into it. How can I connect with this soul that's trying to communicate in a language that is unclear to me? So it gives me more of an in-depth look beyond this little kid that, they need to conform.
Right.
It's how can I be a vehicle into them and be a light of hope for them.
On the flip side, dealing with the parents. Well, because okay, you do your due diligence, you're there, they're happy to see Miss Lisa. You have a great session with them for 45 minutes. Again, you're not going to see that young man till next week.
2 hours.
Okay, for 2 hours.
2 hours. Yeah.
But if mama's going to see him the next 6 days, 24.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And it's a whole different mindset. How do you pour into the parents to try to, give them some encouraging, give them some support and some tools?
Well, the first thing, I understand that they do need support, and they do need, and then just encourage them. And you have to know how to speak people's language. You have to speak their language. In the same way with kids and their unique blueprints, you got to work with families and parents the same way. Don't nobody want you coming in there telling them what to do, and that what they're doing is just not working.
Right.
Don't nobody want to hear that. No, but I don't care. I wouldn't want to hear it either. But you have to be compassionate, and courageous enough to be able to offer them another source of assistance, that's going to get them the outcome that they're looking for.
Yeah.
It's all in how you the individual approaches. Sometimes people, and then sometimes people don't want to hear it from everybody. Like they might see somebody else that's not the same shade as me telling them something, and they can
Right. Well, how you gonna tell me, and
they gonna
vice
tell me
versa?
how to,
Right, you can't tell me nothing. How you gonna tell me how to raise my kid? Got all that neck moving and all that, finger snapping and all that kind of stuff.
and
And
they do look at you. They look at you. I mean, I've had the looks, and people look at me, but it's my approach. It's my approach to them, and how because I'm there to support them. I'm not there to tell you what to do. I'm
right,
here to support you. And do you want a better relationship with your child, or you just want them to conform?
right. And a lot of times they get with the work that you do confused with social workers, and they lump everybody together, and everybody's against me, and they gonna call in CPS, and it's just one thing after another. But that's not what you do.
No, that's not what I do.
But what else you do is you write books. I heard that you have contributed to not one, not two, but 3 anthologies. Am I right about that?
Yes, I did. Yes,
Tell
I
me
did.
about that. Tell me about that.
So I'm a part of a compilation of Destined to Win. Here is one.
Let me
Okay.
see it.
Wait a minute.
Okay, hold on.
Oh, unclear.
There we go.
There it is.
All right.
Yes.
Great.
Okay.
So now you are destined to win. What is that all about? What you doing?
Oh, wow. So Destin one, first of all, it was an honor that my mother introduced me to this. She started in Destined to Win one. And so she recommended me during the writing time and everything. They was looking for another author, and she recommended me for the book. And unfortunately, wasn't able to get in there. So we was like, oh, we'll do it. I'll do it the next time and stuff. And then um as they was getting ready to publish the book, my mom ended up finding out that she had stage 4 cancer, and very shortly after that, she passed away. So I was called. Matter of fact, it was right before the funeral. Someone contacted me and asked me if I would be willing to write my story in in the next book, and as a tribute to my mother, I said yes.
Hmm.
That this will give me an opportunity to mourn out loud. And I'm telling you, I'm so grateful for the opportunity to express myself through my writing
Mm-hmm.
and share some hope with others. So I've always wanted to write a book. Always, me and my mother always talked about writing a book. And this is just part of me, like continuing the legacy, because my mother was one who helped people. She was a therapist herself, always an advocate for the underdog. And now I get a chance to do the same. And I've been doing it. And that was our conversation we always used to talk about. And so now I continue to share that with her in spirit.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. So, what are in the pages of that? What are you saying to people?
Okay, so my first
You want to read an
chapter.
excerpt?
Oh, absolutely.
Okay. Well,
Okay. So let's see.
because see what happens, brains, is when you get in these collaborations and anthologies, don't get lost in the pages. Feature who you are. Let people know where you are. Sometimes the first person may not be as interesting as the third person, but these anthologies are a collection of real people's story that they've taken the time to collaborate, and it is an investment. You don't get in these books just because you're cute.
Yes.
Okay?
Absolutely not.
You have to go through a vetting process. You have to go through a writing process. It has to be edited. It has to be printed. It has to be promoted. So it is your body of work. Don't get lost in those pages, because it's very important that you tell your story, and then you get on podcasts like this and read an excerpt so people can feel your texture. They can walk in your shoes. They know that you are not talking at them, but you're walking with them. Would you agree?
Absolutely, absolutely. Okay, so I'll just give you a couple of the paragraphs I wrote. There always seemed to be something different about me. As a little girl, I was playful and loved interacting with others. During this stage of life, I was an only child. I lived in the same community as my cousins, 5 of them to be exact. We had each other. I wanted so much to be a part of their tribe, yet I still felt some sort of disconnection most of the time. There's this saying, it takes a village to raise a child. And this is a perfect framework for my life. This was the life that I lived. I was not raised by my mother and father. I wasn't just raised by my mother and father. I was raised by my paternal grandparents as well. It wasn't uncommon to trade spaces of living between them all. In seeking, I discovered what I really wanted was connection. I wanted to feel like I was a part of something. I wanted to feel like I belonged. I yearned for the love and approval of my family. But I felt I just didn't measure up. As a youngster in my early teens, my sense of self was still in the grasp for others. In so many ways, I was described in a negative tone. This ultimately led to my decision to have a baby at the age of 15. So this chapter is on looking for validation in all the wrong places.
Well, being a mother of 15, I'm sure was a challenge within itself. A baby raising a baby.
Mm-hmm.
How did that impact your life and how did that make you stronger as the woman you are today?
So the thing was, at that time, as a 15-year-old mind, I was thinking this was my way out. I had very strict parents, and they were no nonsense parents, and their intentions was for me to go on
They
these
wasn't that
spiritual.
strict because you done slipped out and dipped in. Was
To
that a
tell
part
you,
of being rebellious though?
very rebellious.
Yeah.
Like, yes, so I presented one face in front of family, and I had another one outside of that. So I was like feeling like I was trapped. I wanted to be released. And so having a baby was a great idea. I thought I was going to have something to love me, not understanding that this child was going to take more out of me than anything. Yet he also became my reason for living because I was very suicidal at a young age. Did made it a couple of attempts in my life to take away my life, but yet this child was that source of living. He kind of like brought life into me, even in my struggles.
Um, Let me ask you some more questions.
Absolutely.
You say that your parents were very strict.
Mhm.
Was that from a religious doctrine? Was that
No,
was that from generational experiences or trauma? Well,
I think it was a mixture of both. You know, um, there was some uniqueness there because I would say my parents were seekers. My father was kind of like in the Islamic faith, which is part of where my last name comes from, Thomas L. Um,
Islamic Nation of Islam or Israel?
Moorish America, Moorish America.
Okay.
And then my mother she was in a few different things. Islam, Christianity, I went to Pentecostal church, Baptist church, so had my mixture of a few different things.
Yeah,
I mean,
but
even in the Mormon church.
all of those Mormon church too?
Yeah.
Wow. See, all of those are very strict religious doctrines.
Yes.
So you was like all over the place.
Yeah.
But you felt that you weren't good enough. Did you have siblings? You have brothers and sisters?
Later. I was the old. I'm the oldest of all my siblings.
How many
So
siblings?
it's 6 of us.
Okay.
Yet, like traditionally, they would say I'm the only child by my mother and father. However, I have brothers and sisters that it's just my brothers and sisters. They're not step brothers and sisters, they're just brothers and sisters.
Okay. I get that. I get that. So you go through all of this anxiety. You have this beautiful baby boy, but you're still a baby. Um, did that give you what you needed? Because you got a young woman that's listening to this situation right now
Hmm.
that figures, I just want somebody to love me. If
Mm-hmm.
I have a baby, that baby is going to love me. But it's not about the baby loving you. It's about you loving the baby, because it's a lot of work.
It is.
It's a lot of work. And that epigenetics, that generational trauma that
Mm-hmm.
goes from one seed to the next,
Right.
it's that's happening too. What do you say?
Yes.
What do you say to that young girl right now?
Don't do it. Don't.
Just say no.
Okay, but yeah, it's not gonna work. Um, See, what I understand, that what I didn't understand then and what I understand now, and that's part of what's in the book as well, is I was on a quest of searching who am I, and I thought that who I was based on whom I belonged to, the role that I would play, that was going to be the thing that fulfilled me. And even throughout my life, always looking outside of myself, thinking, okay, this relationship is going to fulfill me. You know, this job is going to fulfill me. This position is going to fulfill me. Always thinking it was outside of me that I was seeking fulfillment. Even in my relationship with God, it was like, okay, I didn't feel like I measured up. I didn't feel like I was meeting the mark. So in this journey of like discovering, who am I? Am I just all these roles? Am I mom? Am I grandmom? Am I a therapist? Outside of that, why don't I feel a sense of fulfillment? But who am I here for? What's my purpose? Like, it's more than this. Is it just what people say that you're the roles and it's getting the career and being this? Like, what is it's so much more than that.
It's more than that. Again, like you said, looking for that outside influence. And so, it's hard to tell a baby girl or a baby boy that, your body image is not the one on TikTok, that you are not going to be the next rapper, that you are not going to be the next Kim Kardashian. Uh,
Mm,
it's hard to tell them because you got all of this makeshift stuff that's going on.
mm-hmm,
Parents, it's hard to be a parent. I was just having lunch with my daughter today, and we was rehashing some stuff because
mm-hmm,
girl, I went nuclear on her. And she had to call me on it. She says, now next time, just do this, do this. I said, but see, what you have to understand is I'm 60, you 35. We done dealt with each other a long time, baby. You know who I am. And it ratchets up.
mm,
I talk to you nice, I tell you this, I do this, and then all of a sudden, when I give you the 1-2, you think I'm crazy because you've not been paying attention. And I'm looking at how these young adults are reflecting back and treating their parents like they're your friend. And I had to
mm,
make it clear to her, we will never be best friends. I will love
mm,
you and I will be friendly, but I
mm,
will always be your mother. And
mm,
you will respect me as your
mm,
mother. But
mm,
as an adult, I need to also respect you as a woman because you're 35 years old. You're
right,
not 12. I can't treat you that way.
right.
You know,
Absolutely.
sons, it's very hard for a young man to cope. You see a lot of mistreating of women. And I tell
Right,
people all the time, that's a key indicator. How he treat and talk about his mama.
right.
Okay, that's a red flag right there.
Mm,
That doesn't go well. But his mother is the first woman that he falls in love with. So there's a high expectation there.
right.
Then you don't have a role model because, again, 80s, 70s, 80s, cocaine was just poured into our communities,
Yeah.
and it was an epidemic. Then the woman became strong and she said, look, I don't need you. So the man lost his place, he lost his role.
Right.
And now trying to find that and be honored and be respected. Then you
Mm-hmm.
got the independent woman that say, I don't need you. Well,
Right.
honey, let me tell you something, Sister Brown. You ain't gonna get you nobody either. Because don't nobody want to be with somebody that don't need them.
Right.
I have been married 38 years. And I love
Fantastic.
the breeze that keeps that brother cool. You best believe.
Oh,
Okay.
I love it.
It's the truth. But it took work.
Yeah.
And the most precious thing, people say, what keeps you together? You know what? Is that we let each other know that we appreciate each other. I'll cook breakfast and he'll say, "Thank you for cooking breakfast, baby." Or
Oh, wow.
thank you. And he washes the clothes. I said, "Baby, thank you for washing clothes."
That's
And
right.
and a sweet little kiss. It's just appreciation.
It's the
It's
simple
not a
things. Yep.
yeah, it's not a whole bunch of stuff.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
not a whole bunch of stuff.
And that was stuff that y'all when I think of anytime I hear somebody say they've been married for a period of time and so that's work. That didn't just like, oh yeah, I checked him out, he checked me out, and we've been in bliss ever since. Because you both come from different backgrounds, different thought processes, and so learning, and then that changes.
It morphs.
That
It
changes.
morphs. And are you?
Yes.
And what are you willing to concede to? Because some of these young ladies, I'm gonna get on your case. You don't know how to treat no man. Okay, you don't know how to treat no partner. Number one, you don't know how to treat yourself. You know, you're not taking care of yourself. You have an attitude. You don't want to work. You don't cook. You don't clean. You don't keep yourself up. Who wants to be bothered with that? But then you got the men that don't want to work, that can't cook, that disrespectful, thinking that he's cute, thinking he the king of the ding-a-ling swing. And it's a problem.
Yeah.
So how do we come together? How do we start the conversation and become good role models for our children? Do the best that you can. Okay, maybe the father can't pay child support or he don't pay child support. That doesn't mean that your child should be yanked away from that person. If they're a good person, they may be having a problem right now. If the mother is on drugs or alcohol, give her an opportunity. Get with the grandparents, get with some counseling, get with great people like Lisa Thomas Els to help you work it through.
And you know something, like I was telling one of my sons one day, I said, having just because you have a child, to whatever issues that you have doesn't disappear because you have children. It doesn't. It shows up, and a lot of times I can observe how people interact with, whether you're talking about like the father and all that stuff. I can tell that there's some father issues
Mm-hmm.
just in their interactions, and just in the way. And so you're talking about um generational. That thing just keeps trickling down. It just keeps going. It keeps going. So at some point, if you're willing, because a lot of times we're looking at other people and saying, well, once they get their stuff together, then I'll be okay. Or once this happens, then I'll be okay. But when you take a serious, honest look within you at what is this reflecting on me, then you make the changes. And what the miracle of all of that is, as you're making the change, stuff changes.
Well,
It starts to
as
change.
my friend said, that there will never be change as long as the pain of remaining the same is greater than the pain of change. You got to keep it moving.
Yeah.
You have to
You
evolve.
gotta and
But
you gotta be willing to go. Like, you can't escape this thing called you. You can it's not about everybody else. You can't escape. Someone the other day told me a fallacy, right? And I laughed. And the reason why I laughed, I said, I can't, if you go to the doctors and say, my knee has been bothering me. I don't know what's wrong, right? And you have migraines. I'm never going to address your migraines because I'm looking at your needs. And people will say, well, therapy don't work. What are you working with therapy? If I'm only seeing you for an hour a week, your life is not going to magically disappear because you had a conversation with me. What happens is, what do you do to practice those things? I have a coach. It's not, and I pay my coach nicely. It's not what I pay him or anything. It's what I'm willing to do am I willing to do the work that I need to do inside of me? I can gain all the information. I get euphoric moments all the time. But if I'm not doing the work, if I'm not putting in an effort, it's just knowledge.
Well,
Show up.
I tell people all the time, everybody's not going to be your client. And, you have to step up to the plate. You have to do the work because it's not about you. You're on to your next client.
Yeah.
And you have to process it, but you have to be willing to be vulnerable.
Yes.
Like standing in the middle of the street in the rain, butt naked. You got to free yourself. You got to free yourself. It ain't nothing wrong with it. I did it a couple weeks ago. I didn't stand outside, but I stood in the mirror.
Yeah.
Butt naked.
Yeah.
I bent over and I looked and I grunted and I said, "Whoa, what is this? What's going on?" Because I wanted to connect with the true essence of who I was. Not the spank, not the bra, not the unblemished. I'm 60 years old. I really wanted to see who I was. And you know what? I blew myself a kiss because all of the imperfections is what makes me who I am. What didn't kill me made me stronger. It allowed me to make some corrective action and say, oh, well, maybe I would do this better. I'd like this a little tighter or whatever. But then afterwards, I stood there and I stared at my face as the tears trickled down my face because I felt like I had been liberated. I felt like I had walked through my rites of passage. I felt strong. I was 60 and I owned it. It wasn't like, I'm trying to be 40 or 25 or 30. I'm 60 and I am so glad because there's some folks that lives are ruined at 6.
Right. I had a similar experience just the other day. And it came in form of me doing a meditation. And I know meditation is a kind of loaded word because people think, oh, I gotta sit somewhere and be still and
There's all kinds of
right, it's all kind of stuff, right? So there was a guided meditation actually that I worked with one of my coaches, and in it, I got an opportunity to come face to face with little Lisa. The little Lisa who felt like she didn't have a voice, the parts of me that felt like she was closed off and she was just not seen. I got a chance to come face to face with her and and take her little hand and thank her. Thank her for all the challenges that she endured. Thank her for loving me even though like I may have felt like I needed to disown her in order I wanted to be somebody else. I wanted to do something else. But thanking her and appreciating for each step because so often we think, if I wish this didn't happen or I wish that didn't happen. And there's a lot of things in my life that's happened. Yet I would always wish it didn't happen. But it was in those things that it brought me to this very moment, sitting here with you right now. All of those experiences that I've had has brought me to this moment. I would never be as compassionate and understanding as I am if it wasn't for all the experiences, the childhood so-called traumas, all the molestations, all that stuff gave me a voice for me to even be in a compilation, a book, or anything. And right now, like I was just having a conversation with someone, and I was like, I'm about to revise this. I'm even going to do revise even my chapter because there's some insights that I've even gained since I wrote this. You know what I mean? So I was able to connect with the parts of me that so long I tried to suppress and was looking for people to validate me and say, I see you and I got you and all that stuff. Those feelings that we have that so often I'm strong, I gotta move on. It's strength in loving them. It's strength in connecting with them because they are a part of us. They're all a part of us.
But
So
people want you to, after you suppress it and then you've been therapized and medicated and all this kind of stuff, they want you to, I hear people that say, well, I can release the trauma and it'll go away. It never, in my opinion, I'm not a doctor, it never goes away. It is a building block and the foundation for who you are. You don't have to be stuck in that place. You don't have to be victimized by that, but it is who you are and it's a part of your testimony. That's why I love my show so much, because I'm really into emotional intelligence and relationship capital. You know, I want to make that investment. I want people to be able to rise above their circumstance, but don't forget who you are and what you're about. Speaking of that, before we conclude, tell us a little bit about your podcast and what is the purpose and what is your mission?
oh my goodness, my mission is to be a beacon of light and love to all that's within an earshot away. To you know, I believe the radio waves or that frequency goes out into the masses. So if I can just be just a little beacon of light, if I can offer some insight back to you, I'm not just into me, but back to yourself. That's what I do. So I'm on every Monday from 6 to 6:30. Conversations with Light Creations. On it's the I'm sorry, Top Class Radio. You can download the app on your phone and the notifications will pop up. It's a phenomenal radio station that I'm affiliated with. There's music and there's some hosts, but I'm specifically on Monday from 6 to 6:30 Eastern Standard Time. And I just bring about self-awareness, raising levels of consciousness. That's the goal for this year. Is just to raise levels of consciousness within you. So that can mean a lot to everybody. When you say raise consciousness, what does that mean? And it's like raising awareness
Well,
into you.
and being awake,
Yes.
being awake. Okay, because everybody was into this mindset. I think that pigeonholes you and keeps you stuck. I need you to be conscious and awake so that you are able to use your imagination, use your creativity,
Yes.
appreciate where you are, have some projection where
Right.
you want to be,
Right.
you know, to manifest your dreams. Not
Right.
just sit and put it on a vision board, but actually put it into action.
Right.
Look at your outcome, your
Right.
methods, your resources.
Right.
Do some strategic planning up here. Quit dealing just with the frontal lobe and go into the subconscious mind. There's about 4-5 people that you ain't even met.
Right. Right. And listen, you talking about the brain, like and looking at the scotoma, that part of your brain that has that goes in that blackout. You get to feel it with that reassurance of who you are. So if you say, this is where I'm at, like I like to, as far as a vision board, I love vision boards and I love even that internal vision board. Like this is where I'm at. And I'm tired of being angry. I'm tired of being angry, right? I need to get to the root of why I'm so angry. And I want to build more on my confidence. So how do I build more on my confidence? Like first of all, you got to assess where am I at? This is my truth of where I'm at. Where do I want to be 8 months from now? Where do I want to be a year from now, 5 years from now? And so what do I need to do or listen to? Like we have all these ways of listening to. Listen, people fought and died for us to read. And now today we have technology that will read for you. And people still don't want to read. People still don't want to read. I
But
don't
where
like
you can begin,
yeah.
is do like I do. Just strip yourself butt naked, you know, and stand there and just look at yourself. Look at yourself. Don't just look at the reflection, but make the correction. And I'm so glad that we have people like you, Lisa Thomas L, that is out there. You know, you on the ground floor, you a soldier.
Yeah.
You got your G card. Y'all know what G cards are? You got a PhD in life. You've been there, done that, and you wear the t-shirt, but you are there to, you know, reach back and give another brother or sister a hand. And I thank you so much for that. Continued success. I'm going to put all of your information at the back of the interview. give her
Okay.
a call. You know, she may not be in your location, but she's nothing but a Zoom call away.
A
Thank you so
Zoom call away.
much. And
Absolutely.
check out her podcast and radio show.
Oh,
I'm gonna put
yes.
that information there too. Okay.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
I love you, Sister Brown.
Love you, love you, love you.
All right. Bye,
Thank you.
Brains.
All right.